legs, or at least no quads, for a week, followed by 4 sets of some crazy ass heavy leg press, failure at like 7-8 reps, or, well, yeah, just about 7-ish. I'm feeling it. This was probably the most notable times where I walked down the steps and I could actually tell, like, I was a little worried about my knees just totally giving out and me like crumpling and flipping over. Little, I'm not ashamed to say it. If I finish a leg day and my gym has an elevator down to the first floor, yeah, I think I'm going to be taking that. But legs is not going to come into play with today's lift, which, is you guys are dogging on me a little bit. When I talk about you don't need a rest day too often, or really the take I was saying was, I think a lot of rest days are taken unnecessarily. Now, not all of them, of course, and that's a case by case basis, right? I mean, I've been training on the regular for quite a while, but that's coming from a background of like pretty daily exercise, basically, with all the like diving and gymnastics kind of shit. So I'm a little more exposed to it. But any time that I can tell I'm overly kind of fatigued, that's when I'm going to say, boom, rest day necessary, take one, right? But it's kind of a fine line, right? Because a rest day can be taken with the wrong mentality. Somebody can say, maybe I feel a little bit off my game. Let's skip it today. But really, the guy could have had a really solid fucking effective gains inducing workout, but he just, didn't really feel like it. Which is, I mean, depends on how serious you are of a lifter, right? It's not the end of the world. I'm definitely taking this to an extreme, which I think should be, kind of fucking obvious. But that's that's where I kind of have a split, maybe not a split personality, but like a two-sided face of like my gym advice, right? Because of course I've got the side, everybody should be doing 30 minutes of cardio a day, and you don't have to do it every day. I mean, I think there's a certain threshold of efficiency, like 5 days a week. I think the minimum effective frequency of weight training is like a good 3 times a week, and then it really starts to dwindle down below that. But that's pretty basic. Everybody should do cardio. Everybody should do some weight training just to, maintain bone density, plus, a reasonable amount of muscle on your frame, especially as you get older. I mean, I do have, I look at the analytics. It's 30% of you guys are under 18. 30% of you guys are 18 to like 35, 40. But then that other 35, or that other more like 25% is, everything above. You guys especially need to have some daily activity because, I mean, fuck, man. We're not here forever. We're going to start to kind of slow down. If you've ever been to a, like a store or just get on an airplane or something, I mean, people are going to have trouble lifting 40 pounds overhead to put their luggage in that overhead container, man. I mean, you need a basic level of functional strength just to keep yourself moving and, be able to enjoy life. So that's one take. Everybody should be doing that, from your fucking grandma to you to your younger brothers, right? Everybody should be getting a reasonable amount of activity throughout the week. But magnifying down the scope to the muscle building, like locking it in, being a real gym rat, like this is your thing, you want to make real gains, then it's, if you condense the amount of constraints that you have to do, then, in exchange for the benefits, it's going to be a little more rigorous, So, it's not going to kill you to take a few days off. It's not going to, it's not going to kill you to take a whole fucking month off. But it is going to kill your progress. If you, I'm not joking. I can completely waste a full week of dieting down into deficit with just one day of chowing down like nothing else. Like, if my goal is to lose body fat and maintain muscle, which is what I'm going to be doing in 2-3 months or so once I start, cutting down. then I can be in a solid deficit Monday through Saturday. But if every Sunday I just go crazy and eat whatever I want and eat like a 5,000 calorie surplus, then I just counteracted all that work that I just did throughout the week by refueling with carbs like that. So, I'm going to be able to walk around and still work out and whatever, but I'm not going to be achieving my goal of fat loss. So, if you have a specific goal in mind, then it's just a question of like, okay, do I want to do everything that it takes to achieve it? All right, and that's not rhetorical. Dieting down is a fucking hassle, Bulking up, I'd say even more so, because at least with dieting, it's more of an absence of effort. It's more of a mental thing, because going about your day, your schedule is basically cleared up a little bit. You get to spend less time eating and sitting down doing whatever else, compared to somebody who's really bulking up. Dieting's way easier physically. Now it's that mental game of like, oh dude, fuck, I'm hungry, and trying not to snack on anything too heavy, right? That's the tricky part. But same thing with your training. Like, you're not gonna suddenly shrink, you're not gonna suddenly completely atrophy back to where you were as a beginner if you decide to skip a couple training sessions here and there. But what I'm trying to get at, my main point when I talk about that, is the guy who's constantly just skipping training sessions, and he's like, oh, I'll just make it a rest day. He's not going to make real gains, So that's where the consistency and momentum of your routine comes into play. I'm kind of backtracking and saying a lot of stuff I said in the last video. I'll get over it pretty quick here, but it's every time you work out in a row, right? Every time you're actually pedaling uphill by adding a workout, by adding your fucking protein, by hitting all your macros, staying well hydrated, getting a good amount of rest. And that workout doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But if that whole support system is in place, every time you do a workout like that, you're building momentum, you're putting yourself in a better state, because now it's easier for you. If you're locked in for a month straight, what are the odds you're going to be able to sustain that for the next month, and the month after that, and the month after that, till fucking infinity, right? But if you don't end up building up that momentum, and you just coast a couple of days, or you go in and it's not hard, especially if you let's say your gym closes at 8 or something, you roll in at 7, you're like, okay, let's make today a quick chest day. 10 minutes of warming up, 5 minutes of talking, you got to go to the bathroom, you got to put all your shit down. Okay, now it's 8:25, only got 35 minutes, which is totally enough time to have a good chest day, right? If you're a little more quick about it. Then you start talking a little, do a little chatting, you've done like one working set, before you know, now it's fucking 8:50. It's like, okay, you end up just keep talking, and before you know it, it's fucking over, and then workout wasted. It's not an unheard of fucking scenario. So that's my question unto you, which you don't have to answer it to me, right? I don't need the answer. I'm just trying to highlight the idea. Are you doing what you can to work towards the gains that you want? It doesn't change anything for me. If you lock in this year, if you don't, it's not going to change anything about my fucking workouts. But I know that it's such a simple equation of training intensity, training consistency, as well as meals, carbs, proteins, fluids, your sleep, and everything else. And if all those things are in place, then the magical question of like, what's the best workout split, what's the best workout, what's the best movement, those specific questions will suddenly lose their value, because you're going to realize like, it doesn't matter. It's all about that support system and living a gains-based lifestyle, right? So it's it's not about one specific gimmick. It's more so hitting all those check marks, so that every time you go to bed, you can say, okay, I'm on track. At least in a lifting context, right? So that's my shtick there. But playing for chest, probably Smith bench, cable-based flies, and maybe a few combinations of like some cable-based pressing in between. I don't have much luck with the chest presses at this gym, or with well, I guess I don't really mind the physical pec deck, but it is a little rough on my, well, like it doesn't hurt me, but I'm just, I get a better chest activation when I do cable flies instead of the actual machine pec deck. They don't make them like they used to, that's fucking for sure. So, let's just get started. Let's get straight to the point here. This is about as heavy as I think will be good. Oh my god. That was good. Yeah. Let's lose the 25. Yes. Let's call it there on the Smith. So instead of jumping straight to a stretch-based sort of flying movement, let's do one more squeeze-focused bent over cable press. And I like these. It's kind of it's sort of torturous the whole way through, you know. Like those sets of Smith, they're extra hard at the bottom, and then the rep get easier, and then you're done. But something like this, especially if it's a little slower, it's just kind of a constant fucking battle of attrition between me and how much of a burn I can really take. So not the whole stack, only 55 fucking pounds each hand. Well within reason. All right. Make sure I actually get the same weight. All right, we're good. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Way too fucking heavy. Let's make that drop set. No. Okay. Ooh. Oh. Tuck extra cable flyers next. Whichever one opens first. Let's get a quick set in here while I wait for the cables. Ooh. We got to get. Oh, that was good. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to add some extra squeezing to this one. So I did this a ton in my home gym back when all I lifted with was squat rack, adjustable bench, and then a bunch of dumbbells. There's not much squeezing you can do with a setup like that. Like dumbbell flies are cool, but I'm honestly not the biggest fan because there's not much. Well, you're literally fighting against nothing. In a fly machine like this, I have to squeeze my hands together at the top. But if I do dumbbell flies, I'm just holding the weight up here. Like you could flex, but it's not the same. So what I would do to kind of get a little bit of that squeezing activation at home with no fancy equipment or anything was a set of incline bench. And then I just lean up against like the safety bar of the squat rack or some of the dumbbells and just do like squeezing kind of push-ups with no weight. Like I'm not even talking push-ups on the ground. I mean, just leaning up against like on a 45-degree angle, the rack, and then doing some squeezing reps like that. So I think I'll do the same thing here. Burn out with flies, flip around, do some squeezing based pressing, and then I think some cable flies. Honestly, maybe even just one set, and then this chest day will be over. That is if I can find a cool song. I'll be a little nastier with this set of flies too. Yeah. We want cables. That was really good. So 10. There we go. This will be, I think this will be the finisher. I'm talking front of the body flies first. Basically kind of just squeeze. Well, they're both squeeze focused. So I guess all I'm saying, front of the body flies first, heavier, drop the weight by about half, and then do more decline style flies. So this is more so that hugging action. It's like where my hug at, but this is more your Kevin Levrone like squeeze type shit. Oh, no. Oh my God, okay. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. 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 Oh yeah, okay. Oh goodness. Let's go hit some side chests. All right, let's make this pose down quick. Let's scram. Oh, oh, oh. So how many sets was that? Only like 7? 7-ish? Pump-wise. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm really starting to feel like a fucking freak now. That's for sure. Let's get a little more of a eye height angle. Oh. Oh. All right. Let's go eat something. I'll be honest with you. That pump actually kind of fucking surprised me. Like, subjectively, if I were to judge how how I felt that lift, honestly, I'd say I felt okay. You know, I felt a little bit weaker than the last chest day on that incline Smith. And I mean, I was getting a good squeeze and kind of burn on those flies plus the pec deck, but you know, I didn't think that lift was going to be insanely stellar. Like, it was, I mean, it was as good as I was going to make it, of course. But sometimes little factors outside your control are just going to make it so, you know, some shit's just off a little bit. Now, most of it is in your control. Right? Drink enough water, eat enough food, sleep enough, and your likelihood of a solid lift, if your mental state's pretty clear too, I'd say 90%. Like 90% probability you're gonna have a good lift. But there's still that 10% or whatever. But afterwards with the post down, dude, I felt like a total fucking freak. So good for me. A nice little twist to the plot. Another benefit to not focusing on the pump mid lift is, you know, got a little surprise there at the end. So I just answered a comment in yesterday's video. I'm gonna start replying to some more of those. But it was basically like, just Sam, what's a little bulk update? You know, how's it going? What's your weight? So, yeah, 272 is the new 260. That's my fucking bar, where I'll hit it and then like I'll kind of shrink down from it, hit it again, shrink down, hit it. So 272 right now is my first barrier of this bulk, which is sweet because compared to my last bulk, 260 was that number. So that's a 12-pound jump. Now, it's not 12 pounds of full muscle, but it is a new weight PR at a pretty similar body fat percentage. So what that tells me is I am bigger, which is no surprise. I knew that already. But I'll see. Because my issue is, if I can't continue to eat enough food to support this bulking phase and break past 272, then all I'm really doing is staying the same weight, making no gains, and in a way, kind of wasting time, right? Now, not for real, right? You're not wasting your time if you're going in and working out. But if my goal is weight gain and I'm not gaining weight, then I'm not achieving my goal. So that's where I've got to I've become a little bit smarter about reaching the conclusion of whether I should continue or start the dieting phase. I've hit my plateau. There's no way to get past it, whatever. Now, I don't think so. I think 275 is going to be well within reach, but that is something to consider, because this is a little bit more for the advanced character. Like I mean, if you're 1 year deep, I do not think you need a serious bulking phase. You know, I like bulking and cutting after you've reached a real plateau where main gaining no longer works. But I had fucking crazy luck with main gaining, right? It depends on your appetite. If you really don't eat a lot of food, then you might have to try to, you know, up your calorie intake. But for the most part, on average, if you took somebody who never worked out before and then made them hit their protein goal every day, worked out, and then supplemented with nothing else, they're going to make pretty good gains for a while. So when I say a bulking phase or a dieting phase may be necessary, that's after that main gaining phase, where you've reached a point where, okay, I'm no longer gaining weight, I need to change something. And if you're no longer gaining weight, I think the thing that you need to change is not just some aspect of your training, right? As long as you're training hard, that should be enough to stimulate some growth. You have to eat enough to support that growth, right? So that's something you got to kind of ask yourself. But if you get to that point where you're bulking up and cutting down enough then you're going to realize, like, around that 3-4 month mark, and that could be any time frame. Maybe that's 6 months for you. Yippee, you can do 6 months of real bulking. But for me, by the time I hit that 4 month mark, that's usually when I should make well, if I've hit like a few weeks of being really plateaued, and I can tell like I am still continuing to put enough food down as I can, then I've got to say, all right, it's objectively time to start a dieting phase. Because if I don't, and I just keep eating and staying the same 272, I don't care for how long, even for a full fucking year, I'm not growing. That's time I could have spent dieting down, resetting my system, getting acclimated to, the amount of muscle that I just gained, and then coming back for the next bulk. So that's why some of these, if you go back in these series, I think it was maybe the winter bulk or something. I forget which one, but there was a bulking phase where it went up to like day 212, and the last 2 months of that bulking phase, I gained no weight. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'll just break through it. I'll just start gaining weight. It's not just gonna happen like that. So that's my little piece of advice, little warning, little thing to watch out for. Is if you've reached a point where you're no longer actually on track for the goals that you want to make, but you have pretty much achieved some of them, right? You actually did make some gains in the process, then it might just be time to diet down. So I don't think that's soon. I don't think that's the next week or the next 2 weeks, but I'll see how this next month goes along. So if by the end of this next month I haven't made any substantial weight gain and I can't continue to put on enough food as I am really aiming for, then that'll be my cue. New bulk PR, 12 pounds up. Let's diet down, see what we've grown, get ready to hit it again. So that's kind of where we're at. Yeah, that's a spoiled thing to say, which is nice. 272 is my new plateau. But I mean, I'll keep you updated right here. So, plan for dinner tonight? Not exactly certain. There will be carbs involved, there will be fats involved, and there will most certainly be protein involved. I need to, I've been eating a lot of eggs. I need to start eating more steaks. I keep getting steaks and letting them go bad because I keep eating the eggs. Like 4 full whole eggs, and then 25 grams of protein worth of egg whites. Cooked till basically fully thickened. Slap 4 slices of American cheese in there, blend the whole thing up, add some buffalo hot sauce. Oh my gosh, you may as well take a vacuum cleaner to it. Is how quick that stuff disappears for me. So that's another thing. If you've got a meal that is pretty easy for you to get down, maybe leverage that a few more times in your routine. Don't get sick of it, but that's an if it works, it works type situation there. So all that's to say, awesome chest day. The stimulation that I'm aiming for in my pecs has been achieved. Now my only responsibility is to go home and take use of the initiative that's necessary to actually support those gains rather than just stay the same lifter, right? So if that's you, if you know somebody who's they say they've been bulking and they maybe did gain some pounds, but they're now kind of slowed down, might be good to back off. It's kind of tricky for me though in my mind because I almost feel like it's a surrendering, right? It's like, you got to be a little bit, not humble. Humble's not the word, but just objective with your own situation to say, okay, I bulked as hard as I could. I can't continue. Let's diet down. Let's switch gears. Which I've gotten better at being able to say, but it still kind of feels like, yeah, and I feel like in my mind it feels like stepping down from a challenge. But for the greater good of the gains, sometimes it's what you got to do. Sometimes that's what you got to do. So I will see you tomorrow for, oh my goodness. I mean, there's no word to even say just how pumped I'm going to be for back. My back days are probably my most consistent lifts. Always pumped. Everything's always clicking. Which would make sense. There's not so many crucial moving parts, right? With chest, if your triceps off, if your biceps off, if your forearm's a little tender, if your wrists are a little sore, if your straight chest is kind of sore or anything else, then it can throw off the lift. But honestly, with back, especially if it got straps so my full arm isn't really coming to play, all I'm doing is activating lats and pretty much nothing else. So, not sure where that lift will be, but I know you'll be there with me. So, I'll see you then.